Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we're going to talk about the Zodiac, the importance of the Zodiac for your build, and we're going to talk about the stats, the traits, the specialization, how much it's going to cost to reset those points in the future, and a little bit of how you can use the Zodiac to kill those nasty bosses. So first things first, let's talk about the importance of the Zodiac for your build, the foundation of your build are your skill runes and your link runes, because those are the skills that your character has. Those are the skills that your character is going to use, and those skills will somehow direct the investment that you make in the Zodiac. For instance, my main skill is the Toxic Flame. That means in the Zodiac, the Toxic Flame is a spell, so I will be investing in spell damage. Toxic Flame is also, because it's a spell, I need to invest in intelligence so I can go higher and upgrade a Toxic Flame to higher levels. The higher the level of the Toxic Flame, the more intelligence the game will ask for my character to have. So in a way, your skill runes, which are the foundation of your build, will direct some of your investment in the Zodiac. But there are many paths that you can take. There's not only one path that you can take based on your runes. So two characters, they can have the exact same runes, and if they invest differently in the Zodiac, they will end up being completely different characters achieving different results. So that's how important the Zodiac is for you. So let's start with the stats. The stats, they are self-explanatory. We don't need to really go too deep into it. So we understand how different they are. So basically, you just need to pay attention to your skill runes to know what kind of stats you need to invest in your character. In my case, I don't have any runes that force me to invest in strength. I'm only investing in strength because I like to wear specific types of equipment that require me to have higher strength. Like for instance, these gloves, they ask me to have 104 strength because I like to wear equipment with high armor. So that's a choice that I make for my build. So my character is like a fighter mage, if you may. But I could go with dexterity, or I could go with full intelligence, and I would still be respecting my runes. So how you invest in your stats will also give some flavor to your build. You can have two people with those same runes that I have, and one can go full intelligence while I go intelligence and strength. So that's one way of differentiating your character build. So now let's talk about the traits. You have 8 different constellations with traits, and inside each of those traits you have several trees. Like inside trait 1 you have the Afros tree, you have cliff, and you have plains. And the higher the trait, the more trees it has. Like if you go to trait 7, look how many options you have here. And not only you have more trees, but you have bigger trees with more options and more starting points. Those green circles are the starting points. You need to start investing your points in those green circles, and then you need to invest them in a sequence. You can get all the points in a tree. Like if I wanted, I could get all those points here in the cliff tree. And you can also, if you want, get allocate points in more than one tree in the same trait. Like in trait 4, I put 5 points in the seed skill tree, and then I put 4 more points in the petal skill tree. They are both inside trait 4. So you can invest as many points as you want and that you have available inside a trait. Just try to do something that has something to do with your build. Like for instance, damage upon attack. This is like a physical attack. It has nothing to do with my build, so I didn't get any of that because I use spells. So I got this one, damage upon spell. And the third tree is like for minions and sentries, and I don't use minions and sentries, so I didn't put any points in it. You start in the beginning with only the trait number 1, and then you'll be granted access to the next traits. And how do you get access to those traits? Spending trait points. So each trait will have a rule for you to unlock it. Like for instance, I still didn't not unlock trait number 8 because it requires me to have 61 points in use, and I only have 55. I don't have enough points used to unlock trait 8. The same goes for the specializations here. Around those traits you have those 6 specializations. As you can see here, it's like some houses. For specializations, you have the bow and arrow here, you have a hand here, a sun here, 2 axes, a sword and a shield. And after you reach the amount of trait points required, the specialization will unlock. So specialization 3 requires 70 points. That's why I still don't have it, but I have already unlocked specialization 1 and 2. After you get the specialization 1 in one of these houses, then you need to follow specialization 2 and 3 inside the same house. I cannot get a specialization 1 here and 2 here. It's not gonna work, okay? For each level specialization, like specialization 1, you can only use 7 points. 7 points is the maximum amount of points that you can spend inside a specialization. So I have 7 points in specialization 1, 7 points in specialization 2, and when I unlock specialization 3, I'll be able to put 7 points there as well. So it's very important to notice that the higher, the deeper you go into these points, the more specific they become. Like in trait number 1, I have damage upon spell, but when I go to trait number 5, then it becomes very specific. Now we're talking about poison damage. So I have a spell that makes poison damage. So on trait 1, I get a bonus for spell damage. And now on trait 5, I'm already getting bonus directly to dots and to poison. So there's a lot of specification here that you can really go very deep in details and make a build that has a special flavor for your character and build your own strategy or copy someone else's. But it's very important to understand how different 2 characters with the same rune skills they can become depending on how different they invest their points in the Zodiac. So the Zodiac is very important for your build because all those points, 55 points, it's a lot of points, and they will all add up and increase substantially the damage of our character. Just so you can understand how much we're talking about. Like my Toxic Flame here has a DPS of almost 24,000. So I will just reset my traits here and my stats, and let's see how much my DPS will drop. So now my DPS is 8,000. So it went from 24,000 to 8,000. It dropped 16k. So yeah, runes are important, guys, and you can invest and increase the levels of those runes. But look how much, look at the gap. There is a 16k gap. It's triple. So 1/3 of my DPS comes from my runes. The other 2/3 come from the Zodiac, so that's how important the Zodiac is. Okay, so I really hope that is very clear for you. So now let's take a look at, I just did a free reset, but in the future, after we finish episode 2, those resets will not be free anymore. Just so we understand what that means, episode 1 means the first 5 acts, and episode 2 the last 5 acts. So after you complete the story, the game assumes that you already understand how things work, and it's going to cost you to reset those points. So how much is that going to cost? Let's take a look into it. So here's an example. There is this guide here on Undecember homepage, and it clearly shows that for if you're going to reset 495 stat points, it costs 49,500 gold. So that's 100 gold for each point in your stat. I find that very cheap. Let's just understand that we're not going to be resetting, especially after we finish the story. We're not going to be resetting our points very often. So this is very cheap, and I think it's okay. Now resetting the trades is way more expensive. See here that for 103 trade points, it costs 257,000. So it's basically around 2,500 gold for each point. So it's a little bit expensive, but like I said, it's not something that you expect to be doing very often, resetting your points, and just keep that in mind, how much it's gonna cost you in the future. And as a final note, I'm just gonna leave you here a tip. It's very basic. Like there are a lot of bosses in the game that can be very tough. Some different people with different build and with different abilities will have difficulties with different bosses. And what you can do is, if a boss is easily killing you, like one hit killing you, notice the damage done by the boss. Like for instance, one boss that is very tough, a lot of people have difficulty with it, is the final boss in Act 5. So that boss does a lot of ice damage. Okay, so the game, it's already telling you recommended element resist 66. So go to your character and go to defense and see how much defense you have here. Now I have my resistance is very low here because I have removed my points in the Zodiac. So anyway, just for instance, it does cold damage, right? That boss in Act 5 does cold damage. You can search here for cold, and then um, the game will show you where you can get things related to cold. Like here, um, it's probably damage, cold damage, um, cold penetration, cold damage, but you can also find cold resistance. Let's see if this one here, yes, it's resist, like cold resist. So you can invest on elemental resistance using the Zodiac instead of focusing on damage. If you're dying very easily to a boss, try to invest a lot in elemental resist. Just abuse the fact that you can reset those points freely, and you're still doing the game story. So if you find anytime you find a boss and the boss is very difficult to deal with and it's killing you very easily, just notice which elements you are low on resist and he's doing high damage against you, and reset your traits and reinvest your points and try to find as much resistance points against those elements as possible in your Zodiac, and that's really gonna help you a lot, I believe. All right, guys, this is it. I really hope that you guys enjoyed it. I hope this was a useful guide for you. I know those guides are first, they're like guides for beginners, and as we advance into the game, I'm going to start to make more advanced guides. So stick around if you like the kind of content that I'm making. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you get notified for future videos, and don't forget to share it with your friends so they can have access to it as well. And don't forget to like the video if you liked it. If not, it's okay. All right, thanks very much, and see you next time.